is up, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Tap. My name is Michael. This is John.
What is up?
John, shake that for him. Shake it for him. Yeah, they can see you. They can see you now. Yeah.
We're here on camera. Welcome to YouTube.
Yes, welcome to YouTube. We kind of teased it a little bit, last episode. I know we've been off for a while, a couple weeks trying to get this all squared away for you guys. But we are very excited to be here. First episode like this. Super stoked to do this. So it's gonna be it's different. It's different not sitting next to John. But I think
this whole table to myself.
Yeah.
Liking it.
I think in the long run though, it's gonna be better. We'll be able to put out more content and better content. And I think we'll be able to have more involvement from you guys, the fans, is what I'm hoping. And things like that. So I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah. So one thing we're looking to do is just really put out a lot more stuff, quicker videos, smaller stuff, still get you guys a full episode in there. And then possibly get some more games, get some fans involved, have them join in for short segments or stuff like that. So make sure you guys are staying active. Make sure you're hitting us up on our Twitter and Instagram. Just trying to get into the community. We do have a Discord chat. That is going to be a great community for you guys to not only try to get in on the episodes, submit your viewer questions, get some conversations with us and other people from around the fantasy football community, possibly get yourselves into some new leagues if you're people that like to juggle 5, 10, 15 leagues like me and Maiku.
That's me. I already added another redraft league. I'm kind of upset with myself. Yeah. I told myself I was going to cut down on the leagues.
I added 3 so far, and I've actually invited you to one, but
am I in it?
I think you're still on the list. They're trying to find another person that is closer to the friends group.
They don't want to lose their money. That's what it is.
No, they already assume that we're working together, and I told them it's not happening.
Yo, is it on Sleeper?
Of course.
Send me the invite right now. I'll join.
It hasn't set up yet. But I've also set up to co-commission a friend of mine's team that the rest of the league doesn't know about. He just gave me his password, and we're in. I'm not cheating anything. I'm just giving helpful advice in a format, and it's working so far.
Yeah, there you go.
We're set up.
Is he paying you? Is he paying you?
It's all fun.
It's all fun.
It's all for the love of the game.
All right. For the love of the game. Yeah. Hey, whatever. There's not a buy-in league or anything like that?
No, he's paying. I mean, it's a buy-in league, but I don't want to be liable if we don't win.
Well, yeah, he pays, but you get part of the something.
I get the gratification of winning. That's all I need.
That's all you need. That's what gets John off. The gratification of winning. All right. Well, anyways, John, it's a new format, but we still have our question of the day. So you want to jump into that?
Yeah. So really kind of an interesting question, kind of minor, but Mike, personally, do you see any sort of difference of the fantasy value of the skill positions for the New England Patriots if Cam Newton's the starting quarterback or if Mac Jones is your starting quarterback?
So I'm only targeting one Patriot, and I will take a shot on a second. I'm targeting Damian Harris. First off. I'm targeting Damian Harris. I think
looking for him.
I don't care if it's PPR. I know obviously he's not going to do the damage he does. Like typically, his best format is going to be standard. But I am targeting Damian Harris. I think he's going to have a solid year, whether Cam Newton is the quarterback or Mac Jones is the quarterback. That's the guy I'm going after. So in that aspect, it doesn't really affect me. I think the only thing, and you and I were talking about it before the show, the only way it affects me affects Damian, not me, I guess, is his ceiling of touchdowns. If Cam Newton is the um quarterback, then obviously his inside the 10, inside the 5-yard line, his touchdowns become capped at that point. So I would rather have Mac Jones, I guess. But at the end of the day, I'm still targeting Damian Harris. And then Jacoby Myers, I'd take a shot on Jacoby. He's the only receiver in this offense that I'm interested in. And until Sony Michel is actually not on the team anymore, at that point, I would take a shot on Ramondre Stevenson. You guys have heard it in the past. I'm a big Ramondre Stevenson guy. I think he is going to be a baller in the next couple years. He's been making waves
at camp.
He is, and it could change. I mean, it could change. I would not be surprised. I mean, there is a realm of outcomes where he becomes a team's number one this year. There is. So keep an eye on him. But right now, at this point in time, whether it's Mac Jones or whether it's Cam Newton, Damian Harris is the only one I'm targeting, and Jacoby Myers is a flyer. How about yourself?
Personally, for me, I absolutely agree with you. I do think personally that going back to the original question was down to does the fantasy value of the players change between the two quarterbacks? And yes, I think everyone in that offense gets a boost with Mac Jones as quarterback, honestly, because I think Cam Newton at best situation is only really helping himself. His rushing ability is very and it's only in a fantasy value. In total NFL aspect, you're talking about someone who's helping his team, but when he comes to it, he's going to run the ball. He's not going to have as much passing attempts as the other people. He's going to be running the ball inside the low yardage situations, and that's not helping the running backs. That's not helping the receivers. It's helping the quarterback position and making him more draftable for your fantasy teams. But what I do like is what you're saying about Damian Harris is, you're targeting him because he's a complete value. Right now, everyone's projecting his stats and the rest of his ADP based on the fact that Cam Newton's going to be the quarterback week 1. And that's the situation he's going to be in, where his total upside in that red zone is going to be limited. And Cam Newton's going to be eating into that. So right now, currently being drafted as the running back, like
34. He's RB 34.
Yep. 30. That's below Ronald Jones. That's right into those running backs that are already in a set committee. And Damian Harris is looking to start off the year as that number 1 back.
David Johnson's right in front of him. Sorry to cut you off, but David Johnson's right in front of him. James Conner and AJ Dillon are right behind him.
So I'm completely agreeing with you that Damian Harris is, and regardless of league formats, can be a great value if you're drafting him at his current ADP. I like Ramondre Stevenson's. I personally think, and there were some reports about it weeks ago, and it's personal local beat reporters' personal opinions, saying that Sony Michel might even be on the roster bubble this season, with Ramondre Stevenson's great offseason workout program and how great he's shown himself to be so far and how happy the coaches are with him. So I'm kind of interested in him, especially in dynasty formats where you can have him for a long-term period where you can see that outlook.
He's one of my go-to guys in dynasty.
Yeah. So, and then I do think that if Mac Jones is quarterback, I do think that those receivers that they did decide to pay this offseason, like Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, will have more upside than if Cam Newton was there, where he's already built that repertoire with Jacoby Myers. And as we'll get into later, N'Keal Harry might not be there. We're talking about a quarterback who's going to literally fall into Belichick's system. And they paid these guys for a reason. They have roles for them in mind. And I think Nelson Aguilar, currently going in the 15th, 16th round, could be a great flyer. You're talking about someone who's going to be lining up as that wide receiver 1 more than likely this season. Had a great year in Oakland last year. Could be decent for him. And it's worth a shot, in my opinion. It's one of those.
You think Nelson's a wide receiver 1 there?
I think he's lining up as a wide receiver 1 week 1. It's either him or Jacoby Myers, and I think it's debatable.
It is definitely debatable. No, I agree. I mean, they obviously signed him for a reason. Myers is young. I would lean Jacoby, but I'm a little biased towards him. I do think Jacoby is a good talent. Better than N'Keal Harry.
I think both of the. I mean, dang. I think both of them are honestly great values. You're talking about people you're drafting at the literal either last round or late rounds of deep leagues. Good values because all you need for them to do is have a few good weeks and you're happy with that pick.
Yeah, Nelson's going like 18th round, I think.
What is it? 16.
17. He's 17-7 is where he's at. So, but what about the quarterbacks, real quick, before we move on? We talk about the skill players. Are you in? Obviously, we're drafting best ball. We're in the Scotty Fishbowl satellite leagues, hoping to get in the Scotty Fishbowl league next year, hopefully. Are you taking a shot on any of these quarterbacks? Are you taking a shot on Cam? Or are you taking a shot on Mac Jones?
I'm not taking a shot on either of them. I'm not going to be drafting either quarterback because at any point I think it could take a big shift. And if it is a complete redraft league and it's not a format where I'm going to carry the guy over to next season, I don't want Mac Jones this year. Even though he is going pretty late, it's not like you're taking a big risk on him. Oh crap, went right past him. Oh wow. Yeah, he's quarterback 33 right now, which is just outside of your
Top
number
32.
one from each team. Yeah. You're not spending a lot on him. And unless you're in a league where people are going to be taking shots and holding on to him, more than likely he's going to go undrafted. And as soon as we see him get put into the game late, it's not going to be an issue. And he's going to be on those waivers the next week.
Yeah. Obviously, redraft, I'm not taking a shot. But if you're in a best ball format, are you going to grab him like last pick?
Hold on 1 second. Having an audio issue.
Like I said, guys, this is our first time, so it's only up from here. Okay, I swear, I promise.
For some reason, Siri wanted to pick up. Oh crap! I said her name. Wanted to pick up my audio and ask what I was doing. But no, I think that Mac Jones is going to be someone that's more than likely going to be undrafted unless someone in your league's very hot on him, and in a redraft format, you can just pick him up later.
Best ball though.
Best ball. I don't know what his ADP in a best ball league is currently, but
about the same.
It about the same. You're talking 217. He could be worth a shot. I mean, I don't know if it's not guaranteed that he sees the field by the end of the season.
Right, but
it's completely dependent.
Trey Lance is flown up the boards, and he's not. But he also has he's a dynamic quarterback though.
I was gonna say it's a little bit different talent and fantasy outlook on both of them are completely different. But I do think that no, I'm not taking a shot on Mac Jones. I don't know why I'm trying to defend it. I'm doing my best, but no, I'm not.
Yeah,
not this year.
It's okay, John. Calm down. It's all right. Take a breath. We're okay.
I just feel biased when we talk about Patriots players because obviously I'm saying
you're wearing a Dolphin shirt.
Yeah, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm just being biased. I think he's talented, but just not taking the shot on him, even in best ball.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I won't take a shot on Mac Jones in best ball. I'll take a shot on Cam Newton in best ball, because I think at his value, it's worth it. I think he's quarterback 28 right now, or he 26. Is. Okay, quarterback 26. So best ball, I'll take that all day. He finished quarterback 16 last year. Obviously, it wasn't like the sexiest 16. It was up and down, but in best ball, I mean, you want the points. So
yeah, in best ball format, I mean, part of the reason he finished 16 was he didn't even play the entire season last year. Missed a bunch of games because of COVID, and then really went downhill. So the first couple weeks that he was playing, he was balling out. Everyone is extremely happy. If you're a fantasy player,
did we already do the AFC East breakdown?
Did.
Oh man, dang it! It's funny how you're
go back to it.
Yeah, I do. It's funny how you're like your views start to change or everything, not everything, but like your views like develop over over time, like
Mhm.
the closer and closer we get to the season, it's like some more news comes out, more news
Yeah,
comes out,
absolutely.
and it's like, so yeah, I mean, I'd love to redo everything, I guess.
Well, we're
Starting
obviously
starting
we're
with Kenny
obviously
Galladay last year.
You're fine. But no, we'll absolutely go through our rankings for total positions, such as our quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and everything. Again, as we get closer to the season, we haven't even started like true camp yet. So there is so much more news to be coming out, and for us to actually see how these offenses are going to be moving going into the season. At best, our discussions right now are our most up to date at this point,
Yeah.
as of July. I'm not even sure what today's date is, to be
10th?
honest. I'm just
Is
here.
it 10th? It is. It's July 10th.
As of July 10th, this is where our current mindset is and the reasons why we have it. Everyone's ideas are going to change unless they are just trying to be safe and lock themselves into something and really double down on it. We can be fluid sometimes, but we do have our strong opinions. Darnell Mooney is going to be a wide receiver one by the end of the season.
Oh my god, good God. Wow. Well, that's definitely everybody's jumping on his train.
I know. I hate it
It's
and I love it at the same time. It makes me feel confident that I was happy about it earlier, but now
I,
it's usually when people jump on those trains, they crash.
well, I also think that the Jalen Ramsey thing helped. So
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jalen.
some
Well,
pub some
I,
publicity. So
he didn't even ask for it and he got it.
I feel like honestly, okay, so this episode, I feel like we could just go off on tangents. But we're gonna
We haven't
stick
even
we're gonna
gotten into
stick on
news
track.
yet.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten any news yet. So we're gonna stick on track today, ladies and gentlemen. So but before we jump into the news, we're not doing a beer of the day. Just because it's our first one, we're not obviously you can tell there are already some issues. John, are you drinking on anything?
I am. I had a leftover golden monkey in my refrigerator,
Oh, there you go.
and so
That's why
I
you're
was like,
spilling
hell,
all the pops.
not spilling anything. They're all standing up nice, except Kittle's a little turned over. But nah, we're good.
Golden Monkey, that
But
was one of our first.
yeah, it was our first. It was literally the first one.
It
I
was the
had
first. You know,
I'm 90% confident on that. I believe we're about a 1 year here.
by the way, I was gonna say, I just looked at it. This is episode 101. So we missed our 100 mark.
It's fine. No, we didn't.
I
We
mean,
were there.
yeah. Been there. Act like you've been there before.
You know.
But I am drinking on this, well, not just this, but the Transfusion by Barstool and Owens. Owens is the maker, but they paired up with Barstool. Yeah, if you follow
What is it? I haven't heard about it. I
it's
mean, we're not
from
getting
it's
plugged
from
by
the
it, so
it's
don't get
from
too
the
in detail, but I'm
yeah, no, it's
curious.
from pretty much it's a drink from the Masters or something like that. Not
Okay.
100%. Um, so you just add it's a little mixer. You add some vodka to it, which is what I did in my little Ravenclaw cup. I'm a Ravenclaw. Shout
Nice.
out any Ravenclaws. And it's pretty fire. A lot of sugar though, 23 grams,
Oh,
quite a bit.
is it
Yeah,
sweet?
it is. It's definitely sweet. It's one of my like. I'm not big into sweets when I drink, but it's a good drink, but it's quite sweet. So,
Gotcha.
but anyways, John,
Let's get
let's
into the
jump into
news.
the news.
Let's jump into it. All right. So, really quickly, after ending last season, banged up, James Conner is looking like he's going to be his first training camp in Arizona, and he's going to be competing with Chase Edmonds. Now, we're talking about two running backs who have had mediocre careers at their best. I mean, you're talking about James Conner showed a really solid running back one season, his first season, taking over for Le'Veon, and Chase Edmonds, who before James got signed there was looking at another running back 1 year. Are you interested in either of these running backs right now?
Maybe James Conner. To be honest, I will say it's gonna be nice because he's not he doesn't he's not a bell cow back. And in Pittsburgh, that's what they wanted was a bell cow back. He's not gonna have to be that in Arizona. So I do think that this is gonna suit him better. He may not be as banged up. So, I mean, I think James Conner is the only Chase Edmonds. I mean, we've seen it. I think he's more of a complimentary back. And I think that will honestly help Chase Jesus, I can't speak. That will help James Conner, is Chase Edmonds. So, I do kind of like James Conner. Chase Edmonds, though, I'm kind of meh on. As soon as he blew up, once he blew up, I mean, after Kenyon left and everyone was like, "Oh, Chase Edmonds RB1," we knew. I knew. You knew. It's not.
Oh, they were fine. They were signing someone else instantly.
Yep.
Is signing or drafting? I was even
So.
looking at Eno Benjamin, but a healthy scratch all season really got me kind of curious, and all I could look at was college tape at that point. Now, James Conner is currently going just behind Damian Harris. Does that still make you interested in him?
He was actually one of the guys when we talked about Damian that I mentioned is right behind him. If it's between the two, I'm going to take Damian.
Okay.
But if Damian's gone, then I'll be comfortable, especially if it's a PPR league. I'll be comfortable taking James Conner.
Chase Edmonds going at running back 26. Connor's going at 35, 33 right now. I'm sorry, 34
Chase
right
Edmonds
now.
is going at 26.
Chase Edmonds, running back 26, average ADP of 62 at the moment.
Yeah, give me James Conner.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, personally, same thing. He showed that he can be a pass catching back, and I think that's where Chase Edmonds kind of got a little bit of upside last year, was that he was a pretty solid pass catching back, as well as he could run the ball when he needed to, and had that upside. But I think that James Conner is going to be that primary back by the end of the season, in more of like a 65-35 share.
It would not surprise me. It would not surprise me if honestly, if he starts out the year.
I think he's the better back there, but we won't go too much more into that. New Washington football team's wide receiver Curtis Samuel, who a lot of people have been excited about, completely missed OTAs.
Baby. They can see that now.
Completely missing OTAs due to his tweaked groin.
I'm not
no
worried.
time to. You're possibly going to be missing some of mini camp. Or,
John, you know how many?
Actual camp.
You know how many times I've tweaked my groin?
Twice.
At least.
Actually, someone I'm
I think
excited
I just
about
tweaked my groin. I'll
getting
be back,
excited.
though.
Curtis Samuel there.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I'll be back. Don't worry.
Trey Lance and wide receiver Deebo Samuel have been building chemistry, continuing to have private work after the 49ers OTAs have concluded. That's got to make you feel pretty good. This guy's going out of his way. Deebo's like, hey, I know we got Kittle, we got Ayuk. When you take over, I'm here. I'm ready. I'll be that guy. Does that make you excited for Trey Lance to get into the league? Get started? Do you think Deebo's going to be his number one?
I mean, the reports have been coming out that everybody's all over Trey. I believe he's currently quarterback 25 and Jimmy Garoppolo's quarterback 37. So that kind of shows where the fantasy community is. So, I mean, they're drafting their backup. They're drafting their backup 12 spots ahead of their backup 12 spots ahead of their starter.
I think it's just the draft hype that's letting that happen.
I mean,
personally,
right now it's best ball. So you're shooting for those, and that's what affects the ADP right now is the best ball. And then you're shooting for those, long shots. And what's the percentage? How many games do you think Trey Lance starts?
At best 8, at worst 4.
At best 8, at worst 4.
Sorry, at best 9, and worst case 4.
I think he can start like 15.
You think he's in by week 2?
I think I do. As if everything is
week 3.
Yeah, week 3. So yeah, I do. I know it's nuts.
It's possible. Realistically, Jimmy G can go down tomorrow. knock on wood, but it is what it is. Yeah, I mean,
Not
it's
just
very
that
possible.
though. Not just
You
that
think
though. It's like
13 games in one off season, and you're ready to start?
it's like okay, when you go to a steakhouse, okay,
You go to a
and
steak. Okay.
you go listen to this. You go to a steakhouse and you've got the fillet. There's good. It's good. It's good. It's juicy. It's it's gonna be
Yeah.
good. You can't,
Okay.
all right,
Yeah.
you ready?
You can't wait.
But then there's the tomahawk steak. It's like it's expensive as hell. Not everybody can cook a good tomahawk steak.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm following.
So it could be good, it could be bad. What are you gonna do, John? Are you going for the tomahawk or are you just gonna sit there with the fillet?
I'm gonna sit there with the filet that's already taken me to the Super Bowl once.
I mean, I don't blame you, but I'm going for the tomahawk.
I'm gonna have to pay a lot of my defense next year, and this window's getting tight. I'm going with the filet until the filet is not tasting good anymore,
Well, and that's the thing. That's the
or
thing.
until I
If you
find out
have
the
to,
filet is broken.
if you have to pay your defense, then Garoppolo's gone after this year. I mean, we all know
That's
that.
fine, but I mean, look at them. If their defense wasn't falling apart last season with injuries, they easily were a strong playoff team. They were in the Super
Oh
Bowl.
yeah, easy, yeah.
If
Sit
you're
there with
gonna
the
be
fillet.
you're going to be losing. Oh my God, Siri.
You're gonna make it dessert.
If you're going to be sitting there with a quarterback who's already taken you to the Super Bowl, you're riding that horse until that horse is tired. Your defense is keeping you in the game.
He's been tired.
He's back and healthy right now. I hate to say it. I'm expecting him to go down this year.
Oh,
I'm not wishing it upon anything. My expectations is Jimmy misses a couple games this year, and that's not rude. That is absolutely more than likely going to happen. But so I do think Trey's going to get there. So I think as soon as Trey gets the opportunity to get in, he'll hold the position.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be until Jimmy loses that spot.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Trey's spot to earn. I think it's Jimmy's spot to lose.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
And
I agree.
That's what's holding me back.
I'm going for the tomahawk though. If we're at a
Go for the
steakhouse, I'm going for the tomahawk.
Yeah, you'll be good. Can't afford that tomahawk, Mike. You know who can afford it though?
Who's that?
A highly drafted running back, Terry McLaurin. Loves those tomahawk steaks.
Well, he wasn't a running back.
I'm sorry. Wait. Sorry, Terry McLaurin, wide receiver. Did I say running back?
Yeah, he did. It's all right though.
Whoops. Terry McLaurin, a highly paid wide receiver, early draft pick, one of the higher paid signing bonuses. But he has been getting a lot of offseason workouts with NFL star Doug Baldwin, working on his get off that line of scrimmage to look even more explosive with new quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick.
By draft pick, you mean like 2 years ago, right?
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He was an early pick for the Washington football team. Or I'm sorry, he was late, wasn't he?
He was like third round, I think.
Third
or
round?
second. Yeah. I think it was like third or second.
That's early.
For a receiver now, yeah. I mean, yeah. You see all these he was picked in the third round, but you see all these first round receivers busting. So except for Jalen Waddle, he's baller. So
N'Keal Harry.
Yeah, yeah. That's good though. I mean, Doug, good for Doug.
Doug Baldwin was a really solid receiver.
He was good. He was a great fantasy receiver.
Great fantasy receiver. A couple years until the end of his career, but hey. Now
everybody's a good receiver until the end of their career.
Julio Jones.
The end of their career.
Doug Baldwin fell off in Oakland the last couple years of his career.
That's true.
Yeah, that's my point. But realistically, New York Jets tight ends new to the team, Tyler Kroft, and guy that's been there a little bit, Ryan Griffin, have been taking those first tight end snaps. And for the Jets, do you have any
like
any other tight ends?
No.
Okay. What about the
I
tight end over in Minnesota? Irv Smith said he is seeing some results from his new diet, putting on some muscle and losing some of this fat and gaining some strength.
I am too. So that's good.
Oh, good for you.
Doug Baldwin, though, by the way, he didn't go to Oakland.
No?
No, he just retired as Seahawk. But Irv Smith, the only thing that concerns me is the Shanahan comments or whatever, the coach's comments. But I'm glad that Irv Smith is definitely, leaning up. I think Irv Smith has a ton of talent. I think he could be a top 5 tight end in a couple of years. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm glad he's losing weight, putting on muscle. Irv, send your program my way. Don't tell my brother.
Ooh, yes, please. I mean, hey, let's see what it is. Kyler Murray over in Arizona is hoping that his rushing ability is going to be used more as a luxury this season rather than a part of the game plan, meaning that he is hoping to throw that ball. Let his receivers do some work.
Yep. All I have to say about this is D-Hop, wide receiver 1 this year. Next question.
All right. What about Josh Gordon? He has applied for reinstatement to the NFL. Just a reminder, he is currently 30 now. And his last decent chunk of a season that he's played was back in 2018 when he was playing for Tom Brady and the New England Patriots.
Yeah. I mean, you're not okay. First of all, NFL screwed him. Just throwing that out there. Secondly, you're not drafting him.
No. Agreed.
Dynasty, even don't pick him up. There's no point.
Best ball.
No.
Not even best ball.
Not even best ball.
I don't even know what he would be going.
Give me Mac Jones.
Give me Mac Jones over Josh Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Wilson, banged up at the end of last season, is expected to actually miss the first 6 weeks of the NFL season this year.
Yep.
By
that time, Trey Sermon's probably going to be the running back 1 on that offense. Raheem Mostert, running back 2, banged up. Jeff Wilson might get a couple weeks in, but.
What about CeeDee Lamb? Expected to see a lot more perimeter work this season.
Yeah, I mean,
getting a good chunk of the slot work last year.
I mean, I don't know if you're still on this train, but I still have him as a wide receiver 1 this year.
See, for me, I think him getting more perimeter work means we're going to be seeing bigger chunk plays. But I think we're going to have Michael Gallup being more out of that slot possibly, with CD and Amari Cooper playing those outside roles, and then Gallup sliding inside, and Gallup getting those short yardage plays. For me personally, I mean, that scares me.
It doesn't really scare. Go ahead.
I still think CeeDee Lamb's going to be an easy top 20 receiver this year. I think it just kind of takes away. I like the slot role especially for someone from receiving balls from Dak Prescott, getting those underneath routes that also can turn out to be a 15, 20-yard cut.
Okay. He had by far the most slot snaps last year. He had 629 snaps from the slot. Almost 300 more than any other receiving option on that team. Mm-hmm. Even if he splits it, even if he gets 100 more on the outside, I think all that means is some more big play opportunities from him. Either way, get the ball into his hands. I mean, whether it's on the outside or on the inside, I don't think it really matters. I'm still hot on CeeDee Lamb. I think he is one of the steals of this draft this year.
You think it's a steal?
Steal, yeah. I mean, Amari Cooper's going ahead of him, and I think he's going to finish ahead of Amari Cooper.
I mean,
do you,
they're 15 and 17. So they're pretty close. The only one in between them is I'm sorry, Chris Godwin, and I
no,
think he's I don't think he's
oh yeah,
I don't think he's a steal. I think he's a good pick.
he
I think
has. I will
he's
say this: he has risen. That he has risen
yeah.
since.
And I do think he's someone who's going to be rising a little bit more towards the draft, as he's probably the one. I mean, outside of Justin Jefferson, you're talking about the one that gave the best showing as a rookie receiver last year. In my opinion.
Also, I think he had the most or second most drops.
I
He
think
had a lot of drops too.
I think Jerry Jeudy led the drops category last year.
I think he was second then. He had but no, he definitely jumped Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. Because he was lower last time I checked in the 20s. But still, I mean, I'm taking him over Amari.
I like his value right now. Right now is
He'll
the
return
area
on
I'd
it.
be grabbing him. Yeah, I think that's where you're going to get your return. Let's move on though. We've got Kirk Cousins could be in a make or break year. Right now, his contract could be a little too expensive for the Vikings next season after they just drafted quarterback Keelan Mond. Going to be making $35 million guaranteed next year. Definitely that area where they would possibly be trading him away if they do not like what they see this year. Do you think Kirk Cousins is going to ball out playing for his life in Minnesota?
I think he's gonna have another solid year. I don't think he has the same year he just had, but I do think that he has a good year, But honestly, I think that by the end, but I think he's gone next year either way. To be honest, I think whether he plays well, unless they win the Super Bowl, unless he takes them to a Super Bowl, he's not going to be there.
What a deep run! Their championship game. They lose a
Then
championship game again to the Saints.
the Saint, I mean
I'm sorry, the wild card game.
The Buccaneers.
The Vikings.
Yeah.
The Vikings lost to the
No, I'm saying to the championship game, losing the championship game to the Buccaneers this year.
The Saints.
No, this year. You said if he takes them deep into the playoffs and takes them to the championship game.
Oh, you're saying that the Bucks. You're saying the Bucks are a lock for the championship game.
Oh, you don't think so?
At least, I mean, I think it's very possible.
Okay. Anyways, if he takes, I mean, maybe if he takes them there, maybe. But even at that point, I think he has to make it to the Super Bowl to keep his position.
All right, that's fair. I think a solid playoff run for them would be respectable this year. I don't know if that defense is strong enough to take them to a Super Bowl, but that's neither here nor there. Sorry, Dan. Moving on though, we got Javonte Williams reportedly could usurp Melvin Gordon's role early into the season. And this is coming from beat reporter Ryan O'Halloran from the Denver Post. Where
everybody listen to me.
I'm listening.
Draft Javonte Williams. Draft him. Continue. He's RB30 right now. ADP 73.
Yeah, I mean that has him around Ronald Jones again in that mix where you're seeing players already committed to a committee backfield, and out of all of these players, Javonte is the one that could have that strong takeover early and very, very well.
The only
Melvin
one
Gordon,
is Travis Etienne around him, but I'm still taking Javonte over Travis.
Same. I think Travis is going to be more in a split field. I think James Robinson did way too much for you to just get rid of him and push him out of that offense by himself.
Yep.
Unless you just start seeing complete nothingness. Both Patrick Mahomes and Clyde Edwards-Helaire have requested the Chiefs throw to the running backs a little more often and use them in that pass catching role. Now, obviously, Clyde Edwards, not that. Oh, we're going to be talking about them a little bit later with our NFC,
Yes,
our AFC West
yeah.
breakdown. So we're not going to get into it quickly, but that's obviously good news for both of them. N'Keal Harry formally has requested a trade from the New England Patriots. Mike, what is your projection on the value that they might be able to get for him? It has been a couple days, and he is still on the team.
Most likely scenario is he's on the team. I think he stays on the team. I mean, if you were an NFL franchise, John, what would you pay for N'Keal Harry? Unbiased.
A sixth, seventh round
pick.
Seventh,
right? And they paid it first. I bet. I mean, I guarantee you they've gotten offers for 6th, 7th rounds.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think they're going to take that. And I think that's why he's going to stay. I think they want closer to a 4th or a 5th to at least get some of that back.
Do you even keep him though at this point?
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
Do you hold? I mean, you don't have to.
No, you don't have to, but you got to pay him. First round.
Yeah,
first round's all guaranteed.
It's all guaranteed, but if the guy's not even getting on the field and he's not going to be playing for you guys, then the money's already been paid.
Yeah, but maybe you can make him happy. Maybe you can throw him the ball a couple times.
We don't need to make
more than
him
83.
They just paid 2 guys. They just overpaid 2 receivers, 2 tight ends, as well as have a couple guys drafted. Jacoby Myers. No, I think.
Well, Jacoby was the same year.
I think you take a hit on him and just get rid of him at a cheap draft pick, or really hope that someone offers you that 4th.
Well, you got to remember, it's Robert Kraft and it's the Patriots.
Yeah, and they like to do some weird stuff.
They're very proud.
And he's not an Edelman-like type. He's the bench warmer type. Now, I will say one thing, though. I think that N'Keal Harry is not a trash receiver. I think that N'Keal Harry is someone who should have been drafted in the 5th round of the draft rather than the 1st round. And had that been the situation, we'd be having a completely different conversation about the player.
Well, he'd be cut. You
think so?
Yeah, because their money's not guaranteed after this year.
Do you think if he was a 5th round player, though, his expectations for that receiver wouldn't have been as high? I mean, he's drafted as that first receiver before DK, before Terry. I mean, he was drafted before so many better receivers than him.
Right. But at the time, he was a better receiver. I mean, there was a lot of hype, even in the fantasy community, like not just the NFL community. The fantasy community had him pumped up.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're not
especially
wrong.
with Brady,
No, you're not wrong.
I know you're playing devil's advocate. I am
because
you're playing devil's advocate.
Everyone's just so hot to say that he's just so trash, so terrible, and blah blah blah. But I do think that he's a good, talented receiver. I mean, obviously, to make it that far into the NFL, you have to have more talent than me or you possess.
I think
so. Let's not. So I think that it's really bad. I think if he didn't have that first round pick before these other guys in front of him, you'd look at him and be like, hey, you know what? He's a great role player. He can be a good number 2 receiver for a team. He's never been around an extremely talented number 1. He's never really had an opportunity to show himself as that other guy.
Well, and I mean, other than Randy Moss,
the Patriots have never had. I mean, Julian Edelman.
Okay,
and I'm not.
But he was a late round guy. Other than Randy Moss, who's a big name, big time guy, wide receiver in the Belichick era.
I got one. Hold up. I got Brandon Allen. No, Lloyd.
Brandon Lloyd. Yeah, he was good for like 2 years.
He was good for 1 year, but if you look at his highlight tape, he has some of the greatest catches I've ever seen in my life.
He mossed them.
He made OBJ look like nothing.
JBO.
JBO. So moving on, we got Kareem Hunt has publicly requested the Cleveland Browns pay his brother Nick Chubb as he's finishing up his rookie deal and rookie contract and the contract.
Shout out Kareem Hunt. Let's
Shout out
go.
Kareem Hunt. He says he's not
Straight
afraid to
up.
lose it. He's like, hey, we can both thrive here.
Yeah, they can, and they can win a
They
championship.
they've
I was
shown it.
telling one of my buddies the other day, and we're not in the predictions yet, the Super Bowl winning predictions, but I did say I think that the Browns will make it to the AFC Championship.
Hey. Moving on, we got Amari Rodgers could look to be contributing to both offense as well as special teams, which would be expected. He's kind of that Amari Rodgers kind of looks like that Tyreek Hill build, that small, speedy, fast guy that's going to be punt returning, kick returning, and playing that receiver role. Not sure that he's going to turn into a Tyreek Hill, but hey. And then
Everybody's Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. If you're fast, you're a Tyreek. If you're fast and small, it's a Tyreek Hill. Last thing on the docket, we got Saquon Barkley again, refusing to verbally commit to being ready for week 1 as of July 9th, saying that he's taking it one day at a time and he'll see what happens. That's the 5th overall pick currently. Saying that, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. So let's get started on the actual point of this show, the AFC West breakdown. Starting off with the obvious number 1 team, Super Bowl losers, and the year before that, Super Bowl winners, the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, when you got a team that well built, you're not looking for many coaching changes, so not much went on there. But they did
call me. They did call me. They called me.
Well, you're still here, so I'm assuming you either fell and they just changed their mind.
The money wasn't right.
The money wasn't. They were looking to underpay. So obviously they did have a lot of great additions this year working on that offensive line, not only because of the players that were injured, but we saw Patrick Mahomes run for almost 500 yards on the Super Bowl game. And that's not what you want that quarterback to be doing. You want that arm to be throwing it. They added Joe Thunley, Kyle Long, and Austin Blythe, as well as trading their first-round pick for Orlando Brown Jr.
What are you doing? What are they doing, John? What's the what are they doing?
What are they doing? They are
working on that offensive line.
They spent the entire offensive line. That was their main goal here. They, like I said, trying to secure Patrick Mahomes, the new Brett Favre, the
new Brett
best
Favre,
quarterback.
No.
I mean, better Brett Favre.
But yeah, better
best quarterback. Best quarterback in the NFL currently.
I think he's going. Okay. And
better than Tom Brady.
Not yet. Not yet.
You don't think he's currently better than Tom Brady today?
I mean, today.
Not Tom Brady ever, but Tom Brady today.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take Patrick
better
Mahomes.
Than Aaron. Yeah.
If I had to take one quarterback, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes. I think anybody would. I mean, am I wrong?
No. I mean, honestly, you can't go wrong with either of them. Both of them will win the game for you.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, any game, not any game. Both of them will win the Super Bowl for you.
Game one of the season, Tom Brady's not looking to win that game as heavily as Patrick Mahomes is.
I don't think they either of them care.
I think Patrick Mahomes is looking for that 20-0.
I honestly, dude. Well, let's keep going. Yeah. So, who are the key departures, or did we get into? We finished with Orlando Brown. They did add running back Jerick McKinnon. They also added in the draft a little sleeper. If you're dynasty, I grabbed him. Grab him, just in case. Too. You did. Solid. Very, very good. Cornell Powell. So I think he's going to have, he's going with that offense. You love it. And then tight end Noah Gray. I was watching, I was looking, I forget what I was researching. Anyways, his ADP is shot in Dynasty has gone up drastically just because the Kelsey replacement and things like that. So Dynasty wise.
In his 30s.
Yeah.
Early 30s at the moment.
So, just somebody to keep an eye on in Dynasty. You can grab him with your last pick or third round or whatever. But those are the guys they added. Some guys they let go. Sammy Watkins went to the Baltimore Ravens. Anthony Sherman, the fullback, unfortunately, is dying. He's dying in the league. He did retire.
So one of the reasons I'm actually really interested in Cornell Powell was obviously we all understand Mecole Hardman was drafted to be that Tyreek Hill replacement because Tyreek Hill was dealing with his own off-field issues at the time. Cornell Powell, in my opinion, was drafted to be that Sammy Watkins replacement, that second receiver to Tyreek Hill while they have him. And honestly, I think he's going within the next year or two going to be higher on the depth chart than we'll see Mecole. And realistically could be a great number 2 receiver, if not a complimentary receiver, finding them Tyreek and himself as the wide receiver one with Travis Kelce gone and them not being able to find another tight end replacement.
Yeah, no, I mean, I 100% agree. That's
very hot.
I mean, they signed Patrick Mahomes to a 10-year,
$500 million contract.
Yeah. And Cornell Powell he's only 23. I mean, he's going to be in the league for
8 to 10 years,
at least. So he's going to ride out that Patrick Mahomes contract. Dynasty leagues, I think you should grab him. We'll see where it goes.
The Chiefs also lost Le'Veon Bell this offseason, who is not expected to come back after taking shots at Andy Reid.
Back to the Chiefs or back to the NFL?
I'd hate to see him not come back to the NFL in general, but I definitely don't see him coming back to the Chiefs.
I mean, he's definitely not coming back to the Chiefs. He's
definitely better than a backup for other teams.
Yes, I don't think he comes to the NFL though. I really don't. I don't see him unless a Super Bowl contending team, their first string running back goes down and they need somebody. I think at that point it'd be a match made in heaven. He wants to win a Super Bowl. They need somebody. Bam. Wham bam. Thank you, ma'am.
They also lost both offensive tackles that kind of went down with injuries and were not able to help Patrick Mahomes win that Super Bowl. Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher, as well as running back Damian Williams, who did not play last season, if I'm correct.
He did not. No, he did.
He was the reason. He was the one that opted out and boosted Clyde Edwards-Helaire to the early first round, where people lost their fantasy seasons for drafting him.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I've won plenty of them, but shout out Damian Williams.
Those week?
No, I didn't actually. So not in redraft. He was gone before I could draft. Because I honestly, every time I draft, it's like I have to pick at 12. It's either the 10, 11, or 12. So last year he was gone, which honestly saved me. So anyways, I just want to shout out Damian Williams, Miami Dolphin baby. Fins up.
Here we go. So going on to the key players, we got Patrick Mahomes. As mentioned, he's being drafted quarterback 1, ADP of 20.7. Personal opinion, I think he's going way too early for my blood. I don't want to spend up that early on a quarterback unless it's in a league type where that early quarterback has that much more value. I mean, week to week basis, I think you can find someone a few rounds later that'll give you a similar value, or if not just a few points difference.
Yeah, I mean I agree. I'm 9 times out of 10 I'm not going to take Patrick Mahomes or have Patrick Mahomes on any of my teams. Honestly, actually I'd probably 10 times out of 10. Last year he finished as quarterback 4. I think he's obviously and by far, we talked about earlier, the best quarterback. He's thrown the ball last year. I think he threw the ball 588 times, and 2 years before that, 580. This year, I think he finally eclipses 600. So I do understand why he's going as, the quarterback 1. And I think we see 50 touchdowns from him, but I'm staying away. I think you can get more value later.
Personally, he kind of reminds me of those quarterbacks that have a play style where they're throwing the ball a lot and you can almost guarantee those passing yards, like a Peyton Manning, Matt Ryan, even Phillip Rivers in his prime, where you're seeing a lot of yards regardless of how well that team is doing. And we already know Kansas City is going to be dominating. It's very reasonable to understand that Patrick Mahomes is someone who can be throwing for 400 yards a game for 8 to 12 games this season. If he plays them all and everyone is healthy and his offensive line's holding up, you're guaranteed points, but you're spending so much draft capital in those first 2 rounds to have someone that could easily end up as quarterback 4 again if he just misses 3 or 4 games and isn't available for you when you could have had a running back or a receiver that as well has that same sort of intrinsic value. Those early quarterbacks, I only really like if I'm drafting them 5 to 10 spots later than the second
You
round.
want to get them in the third round. You want to get them in the third round, right?
Or personally, if you can stack him with Kelsey, I'm not mad. If you're at the end, if you're at the 11th, 12th spot and Patrick Mahomes makes it back to you and Kelsey, which is currently not reasonable, but a few weeks ago was.
Well, it is.
Kelsey.
No, it is. If you're at 10, I mean, if you're at 10, you can stack.
I haven't been in a draft. I've been in 2 drafts in the last couple weeks, and in both of them, Kelsey was gone before the 9th pick.
So
Kelsey was going.
Before you were talking about that, I was gonna bring it up. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are going around the same. They're both. Tyreek Hill is ADP 10. Travis Kelce's ADP 10.3. So 10, 11, whatever. Obviously, Tyreek Hill's going a little, probably 9, closer to 9. But if you could grab Tyreek Hill at 9 and Patrick Mahomes on the turn or after, or Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, you're gonna do that? You like that stack?
I like Kelsey Mahomes more than I like Hill Mahomes.
Really?
I do. And I don't know if that's weird, but I do.
I don't think it is, actually. It's kind of weird that I say that, but I don't think it is. Because you solidify your quarterback tight end. And we
early.
Right. And we talked about last year a ton that, you want to go quarterback, tight end late, blah, blah, blah. And as we got through it, we kind of realized that having that tight end 1 is a huge, advantage.
Yeah.
And then stacking him with the quarterback Patrick Mahomes' floor, I think, is quarterback 7, unless quarterback 6, quarterback 7, unless he gets injured.
Unless injury. Yeah. Outside of injury, I think his floor is quarterback 5.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic.
I didn't want to say that, but
the guy's going to be quarterback 5 just based off of his passing yards. You could take the touchdowns out of the equation. We're going to be seeing 4,000 plus yards out of the guy.
And like I said, I think we see 50 touchdowns this year. 18 games?
17 games, I think it, or 16 games. I think it's, I'm sorry, 17 games.
17. Yeah.
I think it's easily believable that he could break the record with that additional game, which is 55 at the moment. And it's not even fair.
Yeah,
he's a monster. Now, let's move on to the running backs on that team. Obviously, we're saying Patrick Mahomes could be a value depending on how you draft him. And if you're going to be taking that quarterback, you really need to have a plan for the rest of your draft.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where it sits. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, though, currently running back 16, ADP of 29. I think that's a value, especially in a PPR format or a half PPR format.
I am so glad me and you are on the same page right now. He had 183 touches last year, and he had 54 targets. So, especially with the ad game, plus we talked about it in the news or whatever, they're going to throw the ball more. And like I said, I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for over 600 yards. and he only had 4 or 5 touchdowns. I think CEH is a great value here. Yes,
Yeah.
I will say I was very high on him last year, but I think he's a great value.
But that's why ADP matters so much. It's not about where you can expect someone to be great, but it's where you're drafting them. And last year his ADP was just so high. Right now at 16, you're talking about someone who's a great value.
Yep.
Has that opportunity to be a running back one. With Le'Veon Bell there last year, he was averaging almost 14 rushing attempts per game at 13.9. And where you should expect to see most of his values in that pass catching role, the guy was only getting 2.5 receptions per game. And if we do see any increase into that, that's going to be absolutely extremely positive and help push him up those boards. I mean, I think Clyde Edwards is a value right now, and pushing him up to that low end running back 1, high end running back 2 position is where I would expect him to go. If he jumps up ADP and he's into those that 10, 9, 8 range, that's way too expensive for him. But if you can grab him right now, 16, 15, even 14, I think I might take him.
Yeah. And like I said, 180 touches last year. I think he eclipses the 200 mark. I do. With Daryl Williams there, Jerick McKinnon. I don't think they're going to get a ton of touches. I think they'll get some, but not a ton. And then I do think he gets closer. I mean, like I said, 54 targets. I think he gets closer to 75 targets next year. So, I mean, even if you and I did the math, and like I said, only five touchdowns. I think we see an increase in touchdowns plus those touches. But even if you only included 3 touchdowns to his to last year's finish, he would have finished running back 17. So I mean, I think he's such a value, like you said, high end running back 2, with a ceiling of where everybody was drafting him last year.
Yeah. So, I'm going to say a little bit lower. I mean, at some point last year, he was going to running back 5.
I think he could.
He's not going to have that rush. In my opinion, he's not going to have that rushing upside. They're not going to be using him in goal line situations. He's not going to have as many rushing touchdowns unless he breaks away, and they're going to not be predictable runs. His best bet is the fact that he is a mainly talented pass catching back. And so with that limited rushing upside, I mean, he's not going to outscore Derrick Henry. He's not going to outscore Saquon if on a good season. Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook. There's just a handful of Alvin Kamara.
I think he outscores Saquon. I think he could outscore.
I think it's. I mean, I'll say it's absolutely possible. I agree with you. But I think it's very possible as a low end, like 10 to 12 is where I see him capping out at. But top 5, I think that's asking a lot for someone who I don't see running inside of that 10-yard line mark.
The only reason why I say that is because of the offense he's in.
And that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
That's the only reason why. So
I mean, you're talking about tight end 1, wide receiver 1 currently in the draft because of the offense that they're in.
Right. So Tyreek Hill, you got anything for him?
Again, I think I hate to say it, I think everyone in this offense is overvalued just because of the offense that they're in and the expected value that they're coming into. And I'm not going to be trying to take the risk on them.
Now, here's where I guess this is my only question. Okay. Everybody before him, before Tyreek Hill, is obviously a running back. He's the first wide receiver off the board. Nick Chubb, Zeke, Jonathan Taylor, Kamara, Barkley, Henry, Cook, McCaffrey. All those guys are going in front. The guys going behind him, though, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, Diggs, Eckler. Are you going to, if you're in that 9 to 10 spot, 9 to 12 spot, and Tyreek Hill falls to you, are you going to take a running back, or are you going to take a tier 3 running back or a tier 1 receiver?
I mean, after Tyreek Hill, I'm taking Austin Eckler. I'll take Aaron Jones
Over Tyreek Hill?
over Tyreek Hill if I know I'm drafting at the 9 spot. And on that turn, I could be getting DeAndre Hopkins. I could be getting another receiver who's going to give me that opportunity to have that wide receiver 1 role rather than me picking that receiver now. And now at that running back spot, I'm looking at even worse opportunities because I'm going to lose out on possibly 3 or 4 of them.
So you're going to take Eckler and Akers over?
No, I would take Eckler and DeAndre Hopkins over Tyreek Hill and Akers.
I mean, I would take Hopkins. Like I said earlier, I think he's the wide receiver 1. But yeah, I think, to be honest, I would skip over him. I would skip over Tyreek Hill. I'd just grab D-Hop and then grab a running back in the next round. Hopefully D-Hop, Eckler or Gibson or Akers falls to me.
So realistically, when I said I think everyone's a little overvalued, it's only by a couple spots. If they fall a few positions, like Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, they fall, from the 9 to the 12. I'll take Tyreek Hill at the turn and then grab DeAndre Hopkins and then start stacking running backs. Then I might commit to a, no RB for 2 round strategy, but not a 0 RB. Like, they have value, but I need everyone else to give up on them first. I'm not taking them at the current ADP. Outside of Mecole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, any of those guys really give you a good vibe this year?
Mecole, maybe. I mean, they talked about this week. They came out and said that he's going to be like the wide receiver 2, but that's honestly, it's kind of just coach speak.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, being that late, ADP 179, you may take a shot on him. Just to get a piece of the offense. Like I said, and Cornell Powell, I mean, we don't have him listed here ADP wise, but Cornell Powell, I think it's somebody, there's always those guys who pop up undrafted at week 1, week 2.
James Robinson, week 1.
Right. Leonard Fournette was gone, so he was drafted, and who else?
Leonard Fournette wasn't gone until after the draft. And then
I'm saying
the question if it's going to be Dare Ogunjawambi,
Ogunjawambi.
James Robinson, or another guy with a weird name.
But anyways, I would not be surprised if Cornell Powell is one of the pickups of the week, the first couple weeks.
I would agree.
So, and then we already talked about Travis Kelce. Let's move on to the Raiders.
Ooh, let's do it. So, really excited for the Raiders this season, personally. A huge problem they ran into in this early offseason was the fact that they gave up 4 out of the 5 offensive linemen that started the season out for them. But they did do their best to fill those roles. They did draft Alex Leatherwood early in the draft, as well as signing Nick Martin on the offensive line. They've added John Brown and Willie Snead, taking another receiver role for Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards. And then added again running back Kenyon Drake to that room with Josh Jacobs. Apparently, they didn't like Josh Jacobs' pass-catching abilities that they were hyping up before last season, and added a running back who can take over that spot. Now, this is going to be...
What pass-catching abilities?
Kenyon Drake? My boy can catch some balls.
No. I'm talking about Josh Jacobs.
Last season going into last season, we saw them hyping up Josh Jacobs through saying
I'll say I was there. I was there on that. I'll take that.
I was calling it. And I think Kenyon Drake was signed to be a B type pass catching back because Josh Jacobs just wasn't doing it for them. Now,
he did get 45 targets, though. I will say that he got 45 targets. I predicted 60.
That's a 33% increase.
Yes, and he caught 33 of them. Got just no touchdowns. Just no touchdowns.
Just no touchdowns.
Just no touchdowns.
2 catches a game.
I think I had 60. I think I had 60.
I have to pull mine up. I'm not even sure, to be honest. They also did lose offensive tackle Trent Williams. Rodney Hudson played with Richie Incognito's mind, released him, and then re-signed him.
What a baller.
What a man, just looking for a spot. Now let's go to the key players. Yeah. The infamous Richie Incognito moments. Let's go to their key players. We got Derek Carr, currently ADP of 197. That makes him quarterback 30. That is late. Now, this guy is actually on a contract year.
Yes.
He could be looking at a new team next season if him and John Gruden cannot get their...
He could be looking at a backup role next season.
You think so?
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you think
I love Derek? I love Derek
You've
Carr.
You've been hyping Derek Carr for years.
I know. I did. I loved him.
Not unjustly.
I mean, he's had good years. I think the lowest he's finished is in fantasy wise, at least, is quarterback 20. Last year he finished as quarterback 14. This year he's going, what did you say? Quarterback 30. And you know what? Originally I was going to go with, wow, what a steal. However, no, I'm staying away from Derek Carr. I'm staying away from Derek Carr. I think the fantasy community has this on point. He's like we talked about with Josh Jacobs. His offensive line is going to be meh, you know. And
no. See. I'm gonna have to disagree there. Their offensive line's not going to be bad.
I think it's gonna be meh. I think the right side is gonna be meh. Their left side's gonna be good.
I think they've done enough in this offseason to sign. They've done their part.
Only ranked them like top 12th last year. So I mean, we're not singing glory, hallelujah last year.
We're talking about an Alabama running back or Alabama offensive tackle in Leatherwood. That's one out of 5. We got Incognito, one of the better
left side.
Left side.
The left side, left guard.
That's fine. We'll see what happens. I feel like their offensive line's been a little ragged on, but it's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Did you look at his schedule?
It's rough.
Rough to say the least.
Look at their division. I mean, automatically they've got 8 games that they're fighting for their life. I'm sorry, at least 4 games that they're fighting for their lives for. Kansas City twice, the Chargers twice. Even the Broncos are a team that's questionably as difficult as them to play against this year, and they don't even have a distinct quarterback.
Outside of that, you got the Rams, the Niners, the Ravens, the Dolphins, the Steelers, the Bears. Eagles are trash. The Chiefs.
Don't say that.
And the Colts, and the Browns.
Yeah,
I mean
they're a 5-win team this year.
But easily,
and
they might be 4.
And that's rude, because I think that they're actually a really good team in the NFL right now. And I think Derek Carr is part of the reason for that. I think Josh Jacobs, great running back. When it comes to fantasy, you're talking running back 17. I don't think that's a bad value for him.
He's not, but he wasn't even efficient last year when he finished 8. 3.9 yards carry.
If you go to his game-to-game finishes, though, he was someone who was left a couple games a little bit early. He was banged up throughout the season.
You think he's going to get 12 touchdowns, 12 rushing touchdowns next year?
No, and part of that becomes the fact that they signed John Brown and Willie Snead. They are obviously looking to give Derek Carr more of an opportunity to throw that ball. Which is why Kenyon Drake signing there isn't as much of an issue for me as it was originally. I think that Josh Jacobs is going to be that primary running back who's going to get the goal line carries. Derek Carr is not running it in for 10 yards, 8 yards.
Honestly,
maybe once or twice in the season.
Okay, percentage. Marcus Mariota starts by week 10.
10%.
10%?
10%.
I think Marcus Mariota could start. I think he could come in.
I mean, it was his team before. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I mean, he had a week. He looked
He had a
great.
couple
He had
weeks.
the, he
It's
looked
in there.
good for one of them.
It's in John
It's
Gruden's
there.
mind. It's in John Gruden's mind. And John Gruden, I mean, I know he's got that 10-year deal, but it's
I mean,
still
they're
he's got to
paying him a
win.
lot too, so it's a lot. What about the receivers though? Like I said, they signed John Brown and Willie Snead, and they also had Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards, who were guys that should have been fantasy hype machines last year.
Mhm.
Both of them banged up throughout the season, playing here and there. Do you think Willie Snead and John Brown take over those roles and these guys just fall away, or are we looking for them to take over and Willie Snead and John Brown are there for some assistance?
I think Willie Snead and John Brown are there for some assistance. I've said it, I mean, plenty of times. I think Brian Edwards has more of a role than John Brown or Willie Snead, in my opinion. Um, I think there's going to be two main pass catchers. I think it's going to be Henry Ruggs, and I think it's going to be Darren Waller. Darren Waller being obviously the clear one. So, I mean, if I'm going to take a shot, on John Brown, Willie Snead, or Brian Edwards, I'm going to take a shot on Brian Edwards at the end of my draft. But the only two that I'm really, really considering are Henry Ruggs and Darren Waller.
Yeah. I know that Brian Edwards has been jumping up a lot of people's draft boards because of the outcome that could happen. But last year, you're looking at a guy that only had 15 targets. He had a couple good games. It's not like he really came out there and balled out. He had a big big play, and that was it. Now, Darren Waller for me.
He was hurt a lot, though. I mean, the end of the year,
he
He
played.
didn't get on the field much.
He played in 12 games.
No, but most of those games he would get in, and then he was hurt, and then he would get in, and then he was hurt.
No, agreed. But 15 targets on 12 games where he started 3 of them. It's not a lot of opportunity.
You're not excited about it.
No,
but I'm just saying,
he's a late round pick anyways.
Right.
I'm not on him. But Darren Waller and himself, I think part of the reason that Darren Waller was able to get 145 targets last season comes from the fact that, like we're talking about, Henry Ruggs, Brian Edwards, both injured throughout the year. Josh Jacobs not showing that pass catching ability, and you're handing off that pass catching work to Devontae Booker. Outside of him, maybe Jalen Richard, who both of them got around 20 targets last year and the high end of the 15 to 20s in the reception area. There was no one else to throw it to. That's why we started seeing the emergence of Nelson Aguilar and the idea of Darren Waller slowly having not as amazing games as he was cooling off towards the end of the season last year. Nelson Aguilar now gone as well, but I have no idea why Willie Snead and John Brown wouldn't be able to come in there and take away some targets from him. I don't think I see Darren Waller getting 145 targets as 107 catches, even in 17 games next year.
I still think he can. I still think he can command him, because nobody there is reliable. I think he is the only 100%. Derek Carr knows who he can go to, and that's Darren Waller. But like I said, I think Henry Ruggs does step in, and I don't think that really takes away from Waller per se. He may not have the season he had last year, but when you're talking tight end, it's not taking much. I think he's going to be one of the most, like, the top 5 most consistent tight ends, which will put him in the top 4, top 3 again. We may not see what he did last year, but I do think that we'll see him as a top 4, top 3 tight end.
I think we see him in the top 5, but I think we definitely see him in that second tier. And that's the only reason I'm not personally super hot on him this year, is because I do think that he's going to be in that second tier of tight ends, but drafted into that first tier where you're expecting 100 targets, nearly 100 catches. When I think I see him at 75 catches this year at a ceiling with the pass catching ability they've added at running back, the additional receivers they've had, and possibly more reliance on an actual run game.
I've told you a couple times before we move on to the Chargers. I've told you a couple times this year why I like drafting in the top, preferably the top 3, but definitely the top 6. And that's so I can get a solid running back, a solid wide receiver, and a solid tight end. Being ADP 27, if you draft in the top 3, you can get a CMC. I don't know who 13 is, and then you can get a Darren Waller. So and grab a solid wide receiver in the middle in the second round. But you can start off.
Yeah, you
with
can go
amazing roster.
You can go CMC, Cam Akers, or Austin Eckler, and then Darren Waller in the third.
Yeah,
you can
and
get.
That's one reason why I like him is because he's going in that third round, especially if you're going in the top 3. If you're a top 3, top 4, top 5 pick. So
I hear you. I personally, I'm not taking him in the third. If he falls to me at the end of the third, give me him. Mid third, no. Early third, no. There's still too much wide receiver and running back talent. But let's go over to the Chargers really fast. They did have a new head coach, Brandon Staley, who was the defensive coordinator for the Rams in 2020 and the linebacker coach for the Denver Broncos in 2019 and Chicago in 2017 to 2018. So a defensive coach, but offensive Joe Lombardi, who's been the quarterback coach for the Saints for the past 5 years, and then was the offensive coordinator for 2014. They went to the playoffs that year.
Yeah.
It was Matt Stafford's only playoff year where Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate had 1,000 yards in that season. We've already seen Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp able to completely dominate at that wide receiver position, both staying extremely fantasy relevant to where the point they're both mid first and second round wide receivers where they're getting drafted at the end. I'm very hot on this team personally, the Chargers. I think that shows a lot for the fact that maybe we'll see Keenan Allen and Mike Williams both very relevant, not just one of them.
Time.
We've already been over it. If you've listened to any of our previous mock drafts, I'm on the Mike Williams train this year.
You've seen it face to face. You're finally on the Mike Williams train.
He's very undervalued, and he's got some upside, and
he's
that's
always
how we
been
play.
Undervalued. He's always been him and Keenan, both of them.
Nope, disagree completely. Mike Williams has been overvalued up to this season, even after claiming that he was going to have a shoulder injury throughout the 2020 season, and just kind of had some good games. He's been a boomer bust player from day one, and this year I expect some consistency from him this year.
I don't.
Cheers to you. I think the guy's gonna have about 5. When I say consistency, I mean up and low consistency. We're talking.
What's up and low consistency?
Well, his boomer bust situation has been either 5 or less points or 15 because he finally scored a touchdown. I think this year he's someone who can see at least about 3 to 5 catches per game, as well as another 50 to 60 yards, with some games really pushing him up into that wide. I think he has some wide receiver 1 games, but averages a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 week in, week out.
Okay. So you think he's a wide receiver 2 at the end of the year?
Yeah. I think he has that possibility.
Okay, but where do you have him?
I realistically, I think low end 2, high end 3 is a realistic situation for him this year. 10 touchdowns. Keenan's the top 12 wide receiver in my books.
I agree with
Keenan
you
Allen's
there.
going to get over 100, 110, 115 targets this year, 110, 80 catches. And then Justin Herbert doesn't even need to play as well as he did last season, and I'd still be happy with what you give me.
110. He's going to get. Wait, did you say receptions or targets?
I said targets, but I meant receptions.
Yeah, he's going to get. Oh, yeah. He got 147 last year, 149 the year before. He's going to get over 100. 60 this year.
Yeah.
So I think he's in that 115, 120 receptions range. And he eclipses the 1,000 yard mark, which he did not do last year, but he did have eight.
He missed a lot of games.
He did, but he did have 8 touchdowns, and I think honestly it's gonna continue the same, especially with Hunter Henry gone.
You remember last season around this time, I was trying to trade Stephon Diggs from you. I was trying to get Stephon Diggs, and this year I had that same.
What held it
What
up?
held me up was you fought me a little bit, and made the trade a little hard to bargain. So I started doubting myself, but I was still hot on him. That's why we picked him up in that list, in that league where we were against the other fantasy podcast. But I had that same feeling about Keenan Allen this year, where he's just finally going to be in a situation where he's able to be called. And I don't want to say, hey, Keenan Allen's my wide receiver 1, and I'm on that boat. But I definitely think that there's a realm of reality where Keenan Allen can finish the top 5.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's 100%. I think realistically, though, I think he finishes around like 9 to
12.
11.
In my head, realistically 12, but upside of 5.
Yeah.
Floor
upside, yeah.
Floor.
I mean, okay. As weird as it sounds, upside, I think is 1.
Okay, glad we're on the same page. Just don't sound like a complete jerk.
No. I think
it.
Upside, yeah, Keenan could be 1, but I think it's also dependent on Burrow or Herbert, and I don't have Herbert being that guy this year. So yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page. Mike Williams, baby, Clemson,
Yeah.
Let's go.
Now, over the running backs really fast, Austin Eckler, currently ADP of 14, running back 10. I think that's very fair, and I feel like I'm hot on him this year. So
Everybody is.
And it comes with that Herbert range.
Wait, who are we talking about? Sorry, say it again.
Austin Eckler.
Did we already talk about Herbert?
We have not gotten to Herbert yet.
Okay, all right. I was just making sure because I have some words for Herbert. Yeah, no, Austin Eckler. I love Austin Eckler. Love Austin Eckler. Last year, the weeks, if you add up all the weeks he played, he finishes in the half PPR league, he finishes running back 8. And I like that. But I'm worried about him playing the full season. That's the only issue I'm having. I think he misses like 4 games or so. Before no, listen. Before no, listen to me.
Listening.
Before, when he had Melvin Gordon there and didn't have to take the full workload, yes, he was putting up 15, 16 week seasons. I don't know if he can do that. So if I'm drafting Eckler, I want it to be the end of the second or so. I want it to be a little bit later, but to be honest, I think I'm going to be fading Eckler. As much as it sounds, as much as it hurts me because I love Austin Eckler, I think first of all, I think he's a great person. Second of all, I think he is great for the football community. It hurts me to say, I think I'm fading Eckler this year.
Only reason I was trying to cut you off earlier was I said earlier that I expect Jimmy Garoppolo to miss some time, and you told me I was being rude by putting that claim out there. But no, Eckler at RB10 I think is the highest I would feel comfortable taking him. Because at that point, the guys behind him, I'm not the fondest of. And that gives you guys like Cam Akers just right before him, Joe Mixon just right behind him. I would definitely take Austin Eckler over both of those guys.
Yeah, over Cam Akers?
Over Cam Akers, for sure.
I don't know about that. I think I'd rather have Cam Akers. And I know that's hype train, but I think I'd rather have Cam Akers.
Cam Akers at running back 10, I think, is incredibly overvalued at
it
the
is
moment.
Quite. I would. I mean, part of that, to be honest, to be honest, I would rather grab Najee later, who's running back 14 right now,
Part of my point, yeah.
than Akers or Eckler. But yeah, I think if I had to choose between Eckler or Akers, I'd go Akers.
Ooh, I'm not on that boat. I think Akers has a, especially at 10, I think has a very disappointing season, for that draft pick. Damn, really, you're that hot on him?
On Akers, yeah.
Yeah,
but I mean,
at 10,
I can't believe at 11. At 11, he's 11.
I've got him at 10 here.
Happy PR.
Oh no, I edited the page. I refreshed the page earlier. We're scrolling back down. Okay, I've got him at 11.
Right. He's literally right.
Austin. Okay.
Yeah,
I
would
like
rather.
that.
I'd rather have Akers than Eckler.
I'd rather have Eckler. I think we see more of an Alvin Kamara type role from Eckler than we do from Akers. I think he's someone who we can expect 75 targets from. And I don't think injuries are going to be an issue for him. I like Eckler a lot this year, but at running back 10 is exactly where I'm going to cap that off at. No higher than that am I taking the risk. Other running back, Justin Jackson, I'm not touching at all. And I know if you're on the train where you're not super hot on Eckler, it's got to be because of those injuries. And so Justin Jackson's someone that might pique your interest. Is that right?
Justin Jackson? Not really.
Okay.
But real quick, I do think Austin, you said 75 for Austin Eckler?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I think you can get to like 90. I do think.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you can get 90. So if PPR format, if you're in a PPR format, then like full PPR, then yes. He had 60 last year. So I think and that was missing time. So, I mean, I think to be honest, J.D. McKissic had 106. He could probably.
All right, well,
J.D.
McKissic is a complete outlier, and that's not someone you're looking to even replace this year.
Yeah, but Alvin Kamara had 103.
Okay, well, Alvin Kamara is Alvin Kamara.
And
J.D. McKissic. Okay, well, J.D. McKissic was lining up as a receiver for.
Yeah, no, I get it. But no, I could see 90 is what I'm saying. I could see 90. But Justin Jackson, no. The only other running back I could like take a shot on, I guess Justin Jackson, no. But I mean, I think he's gonna be a late round if Austin Eckler doesn't stay healthy. I think he's gonna be one of those waiver wire grabs. But I think Larry Roundtree, the running back they drafted this year, I think he's going to be kind of sneaky. So later on, don't draft him. Don't draft him, but later on.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking at someone if you're looking at Justin Jackson, I'd rather take Larry Roundtree later.
Right.
I think that's the role that he's going to fill. I think he's going to take over for Justin Jackson, just as likely that Justin Jackson's going to be good.
Both of them are undrafted.
Absolutely. Now,
so
Austin Eckler.
But I'm not taking either of them in a draft. I'm going to use my fab on them.
Exactly. I'll pick them up when they're relevant. Really quickly for the receivers, Keenan Allen, currently wide receiver 10. Yep. Very hype, very, very on board. We'll pick him up at that ADP, in my opinion.
Mike Williams, PPR, folks.
Mike Williams as well, wide receiver 50. We'll pick him up at that position. Think he's a great steal. And realistically, his ADP
I
50,
love that.
You might have to pick him up earlier.
I love that you think
might have to grab him at like 45. If you're at the turn, it's worth grabbing him and possibly someone else to help fill that roster out, depending on how your draft's going at that point. And then Jalen Guyton, ADP of 368. So you're talking undrafted unless you're in a deep format.
I will say this. Other sites do have him as like 205.
Still almost undrafted.
Pretty much. I think that he could have some value. It's between him and Josh Palmer, who they drafted this year. I think with the new offense and things like that. I think I'm drafting. If I was going to take a shot on somebody, it'd be Guyton, who showed some flashes last year. He had 1, 2, 3 games over 10 points last year. Those games, 3 games over 10 points. So, I mean, Jalen Guyton, he had some hype coming into this year. Being as soon as who left, or it was a couple years ago when Tyrell Williams left. So I think he'll have a couple games. But if I was going to draft anybody between
last year, you
Palmer,
let's not forget Tyron Johnson, who was there as well last season. And when we had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams banged up, they both filled the role fairly well.
KJ
Tyron
Hill,
Johnson,
baby.
Tyron
what about
Johnson,
KJ Hill?
We're gonna forget about KJ Hill. I almost cursed to just talk about his name.
Hey, don't say that. He's from Ohio State. Don't say that.
I don't care. Moving on. Let's move over to the tight ends really fast, where they've replaced Hunter Henry with Jared Cook. And in that situation, I think Jared Cook at tight end 21 could be a good value if you're looking for a late round tight end, a great second tight end on your team, or someone you might want to use as a streaming tight end. They obviously fed Hunter Henry when he was healthy enough, and Jared Cook, even though he's old, should have a few good weeks. And if you're spending on that late round of a tight end, you're not looking to get the most value for him. You're just looking for someone to get you a couple weeks when they're on a good matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. This year, I mean, I know we talked about it. We talked about it a lot last year. I know a lot of fantasy channels and things like that talk about it, about vacated targets and things like that. Offenses change up every year. I mean, show me an offense that throws the same amount of times, year in and year out. Yeah, it's not going to happen. But I will say, Jared Cook did finish as tight end 12 in a standard league. 18 in PPR, obviously didn't get a ton, but of catches. But the Chargers do have 136 vacated targets.
93 of those coming from Hunter Henry himself.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, exactly. A lot of them coming from the tight end. So I think that there is possibility that, I don't want to say Jared. I mean, Jared Cook ends up as like a tight end like 16 this year. Tight end 16, I have him at 15. Yeah, so I don't think that he sneaks into the 12 by any means, unless it comes through touchdowns. I mean, kind of like what he did last year. That's the only reason why he snuck into the top 12 Absolutely. In standard. 7 of them. So, but John's boy, Donald Parham, could he be a sleeper?
Had they not signed Jared Cook, it's possible. Last year, he was able to find himself a couple weeks where he was useful in the offense as far as his total catching ability. But it is what it is. I mean, last year, 20 catches. Or 20 targets, 10 catches, 159 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So he has shown something.
I know promises. He was your tight end before
end of the season.
Yeah.
End of the season. Before they signed Jared Cook and Hunter Henry was gone, we all knew that they weren't going to re-sign him. And Donald Parham was lined up to be that next guy. Didn't spend any draft capital on the tight ends early, and hell, Jared Cook's old enough to where we might have a nice little breakout with Donald. Now, I wouldn't pick him up. He's someone I'd spend that fab on, like you were saying earlier. We'll grab him when we need him.
Yeah, exactly. I think both of these guys are. I think both Jared Cook and him are.
So let's go over to the last team in the division. We got the Denver Broncos. No major coaching changes, but their key additions, a new quarterback. Someone we're all familiar with, Teddy Bridgewater, coming in to steal my man Drew Lock's
holding the Michael Jackson,
stealing my man's role at quarterback for the Broncos. They did spend high draft capital on Javonte Williams as well as Quinton Miners to help on that offensive lineman.
I've got some beef with the Broncos.
You've
They
got
jumped
beef with
up
the
right in front of
Broncos?
the Dolphins
Yeah,
to
they did.
grab Javonte. I wanted Javonte.
They did.
But he was
They
my
did.
number one running back going in.
Hey, I still like the situation he's in. They did lose Philip Lindsay, which helps Javonte a lot. And then they did end up waiving Jawan James after an unfortunate accident where he was injured. And they no longer wanted to help pay the man through that injury because he wasn't.
Hopefully he gets it.
on
Hopefully he
field.
gets a settlement. Hopefully he gets something like that.
Hopefully he gets a settlement. I do believe he was re-signed with another
to the
team.
Baltimore Ravens.
After they lost Orlando Brown, Jawan James will fill that role pretty solidly. It's almost like it happened for a reason.
But he won't be there this year.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Future.
That division's such a cluster that I'm not sure how the Ravens are going to do anyways. But we'll have to see. Now, Drew Lock moving into week
Your
one.
Your boy.
My old boy. We used to be best buds back in the day. After last season, I can't.
You
say
and
the
Drew
same.
Lock, me and Kenny Galladay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
We'll call it as we see it. I personally think that Drew Lock has about 4 games into him before Teddy Bridgewater takes over that Broncos offense and finishes out the season where they end up about 3 and now that it's 17 games, it's going to be 3-14, and they have the second pick overall, and they're going to be looking for a quarterback or trading for someone next season.
Yeah. I mean, I to be honest, if Drew Lock,
it's rough.
I was listening to NFL radio the other day, and they were talking about the Teddy Bridgewater Drew Lock thing, and they were saying obviously that they hope Broncos fans hope that Drew Lock becomes the franchise quarterback, so they have somebody to carry on the legacy. But I don't think it happens. I think that, like you said, actually, to be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised if Teddy Bridgewater is the starter coming out of camp.
I don't think that they write him off that quickly. They would have. I think they would have brought in a real starter.
Starter.
They would have made. I mean, obviously, there's been conversations about them trying to make plays for Aaron Rodgers throughout the whole debacle that's been going on in Green Bay.
That's a top 10 quarterback of all time.
Okay, they would have made a play for Jared Goff, Matt Stafford, one of the other.
They did make. I'm almost 100% sure they did make a play for Matt Stafford.
Exactly, but not strong enough. I think that Drew Lock gets a shot, kind of the same way we saw Dwayne Haskins get a shot in Washington last season. He got a couple games, and realistically, we'll talk about it when we go over to that division. Those couple games and those chances he got, he was set up for failure. And I think that Drew Lock's going to be given a situation where he's going to get, hey, here's your chance. Lose us these games and you're gone. Win us these games, look good, and hey, we'll keep it going. He's not going to get a lot of leash. He's not going to get a lot of freedom to do whatever he wants, but they're going to start the season with him, in my opinion.
As far as fantasy-wise, are you
stay away from taking any of them? No. Do I have both of them? Yes. Am I screwed? Yes.
Yes. Let's jump into the running backs real quick. Melvin Gordon, ADP 68, running back 28. Javonte Williams, ADP 73, so 5 spots behind him. Running back 30. They're going close.
Give me Javonte all day. Give me Javonte all day.
High five.
High five. We're on the mic. We're hitting the same roles here. Javonte Williams, we still have zero confirmation about Melvin Gordon's whole DUI situation.
No. Yes, we do. Yeah, he's fine.
We have zero outcome from the NFL.
Yeah,
we understand that the charges were dropped criminally.
No. He's fine.
The NFL.
NFL. He's fine.
I haven't seen that. Next to that, Javonte Williams is an absolute monster that can take over a running back who's been completely outworked. There's a reason the Chargers didn't want to re-sign him and can keep him there because he wanted way too much money for someone who's can be replaced by Austin Eckler. And that's why we're going to see Austin Eckler, in my opinion, take off and be a top 10 running back. Now, I think Javonte Williams can, as the reports were saying earlier, usurp my man Melvin Gordon. And we'll see Javonte Williams as a top 15, 20 running back by the end of the season, because those first 4 weeks is going to be beating Melvin Gordon out. And
Did you say
give
top?
those
Wait, you say top 15?
top 15.
Ooh.
Like I said, I think within 4 weeks that we'll see Melvin Gordon
Are you
much
taking? Would you rather have Najee or Javonte this year?
full point PPR or half point PPR? Full point, I'd take
Half
Javonte.
point. We're talking half point.
Half point, give me Najee. Full point, give me Javonte.
Even see, I think both of them. I think they're the same style. I know everybody.
They are the same style, but those offenses aren't. And it's not just the running back we have to talk about. It's the offense that they're in. We're in an offense with Big Ben, Chase Claypool. We've got Juju, and we've also got Deontay Johnson in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that the wide receivers over in Denver aren't keeping up with that. I mean, Cortland Sutton, great. Jerry Jeudy, great. Tim Patrick, nowhere near as good as any of the 3 receivers from the Steelers, in my opinion. I think Javonte's a better receiving option in Denver.
What about KJ Hamler? Don't forget about my boy KJ.
Completely different receiving skill set, and he's been banged up through OTAs and these offseason practices. I think Javonte's a better receiving option out of Denver than Najee is out of Pittsburgh. And that's the small disconnect in that PPR and half PPR format. They're very close, but I do think Javonte sees more targets, even with him having to work through Melvin Gordon throughout the year.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm on the Javonte train. Listen,
hey.
I drafted, I won't say this is my best trade in Dynasty ever, but I drafted Najee at the 2. And then I traded for Javonte, and I had Javonte higher, but I traded Javonte or Najee for Javonte and a first next year. So
hey,
I like that. But so
let's finish this up here. Going over the receivers that I just brought up, we got Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and Tim Patrick. Cortland Sutton, we're talking about wide receiver 32 off the board. We've got Jerry Jeudy, ADP of 101, wide receiver 38, and then Tim Patrick, ADP of 296, wide receiver 99. Any of them really tickling your fancy?
Jerry Jeudy, I think he's going to blow up. I mean, to be honest, I think he's going to be like a year 2, whatever. I mean, similar to Henry Ruggs, where you don't just come to the NFL and suck. Okay.
Okay.
You have talent. Yes.
Okay.
The NFL, okay. I guess that's not true, but you don't come to the NFL, show promise, and then just fall off. I guess is more what I'm saying. And I feel like ADP wise, that's what's happening. Is everybody expected Jerry Jeudy to have the Justin Jefferson year, and that's not what happened.
When Cortland Sutton went down.
Exactly. And
they had all those quarterback issues.
So I think that Jerry Jeudy's going to have a great second year, or a good second year. He's at least going to outperform wide receiver 38. He's going to hop into that low end wide receiver 2. And to be honest, depending on whose quarterback is, I mean, he could hit that high end wide receiver 2. I mean, maybe even sneak into the low end wide receiver 1s. But Jerry Jeudy is clear and far away one of the best talents coming out of last year's draft. Everybody knows it. Everybody saw it. I think it's going to translate this year.
Yeah, he's like a top 3 talent out of the draft last year. And as you're saying, if you're drafting a wide receiver from this team, or either anyone around them, Jerry Jeudy probably has the best opportunity to return on that investment and break out of that range that you're drafting him easily.
Yep.
I agree, as a low end one, even a mid range one, if the touchdowns fall his range, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be a touchdown dependent. But I do think that he sees targets consistently enough to where we find him as that mid range wide receiver 2 by the end of the season, and if I would rather Teddy Bridgewater be the quarterback there, and I think that's
Me
going to be
too.
the best opportunity for him. Cortland
100%.
Sutton, I think, is a little too rich for me, and Tim, I'm just not interested in. I'd rather take flyers way deeper, as well as just picking someone off waivers if I'm not in a deep draft format.
I'll take KJ Hamler. I'll take KJ.
There we go.
Yeah.
And then as far as the tight end, we've got Noah Fant. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped your Cortland Sutton take. He's coming back off a big injury that kept him out the remainder of the season last year. Obviously 2019, he showed huge flashes, looked like a great fantasy receiver. Would you take him or Jerry Jeudy? I know you said Jeudy earlier, but where are you with Sutton?
So I'm taking Jerry Jeudy. Sutton, I think he finishes wide receiver 45-ish or so. I think that Jerry really takes over the wide receiver core there.
Okay. And then let's jump over to the tight end really fast. We got Noah Fant. Definitely jumping up the draft boards and currently tight end number 7, ADP of 81. That means you're drafting him in the 7th round right now, end of the 7th. Is he what you're expecting, what we expected from Noah Fant a few years ago?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we talk about it all the time. I mean, I don't think that he is. It's not going to be hard for him to, especially with the big plays and things like that he offers. I don't think that it's going to be hard for him to return on this. I think he's going to be pretty consistent. I think it's going to be him and Jerry Jeudy in this offense. Cortland Sutton will have a role, but Noah Fant I'm quite comfortable with.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. Where he's being drafted right now is right around the tier breaks of both the receivers and the running backs. Where you're looking at running backs like David Johnson, Damian Harris, as well as James Conner, and wide receivers like Juju, DJ Chark, Jamar Chase, where we don't know where they're going to finish. These are all guys with huge upside, as well as could be definitely not worth the value. And I do see comfortability drafting him at this point.
I will say that there are leagues, and that Fant's being drafted as a 17th tight end. So if he's being drafted that late, if he's dropping that low,
absolutely
sign me up 100%.
Yeah.
If you can, let's see. If you can get him that late, I mean, I'll take him all day. So 81 right now is the 5'9", or I'm sorry, 7'9". If you can get him in the 8, 7, 8, 9 range, you're golden. Even in the 6, I'll take him in the 6th.
Depending how my team's looking at the 7th round, I might take him at the end if that's where I'm falling, or the beginning of the 8th if he's there. But guys, that is going to be our divisional breakdown. Mike, is there anything about any of these teams that we just went over that you want to say a little bit more about that we didn't over these past 6 hours?
No, not really. One thing I do want to say, especially with the Scotty Fishbowl going on right now, don't be afraid to reach a little bit. Obviously, don't reach like multiple rounds, but don't be afraid to reach a little bit. Don't play the ADP game all the time. It's not worth it. It typically doesn't work out. So don't just think, oh, you know what, the ADP is this, I'm here. That's not how it works all the time. We use these ADPs as just markers. They're averages. So obviously they're going before and after. So if you're pretty close, if you think, you need to take them there, if you need to take that tight end in the 6th, 7th, 5th round, whatever it is, take them there. But as far as these teams, no. It was a good first show, though. I think. I mean, definitely some learning curve.
Well, what was pretty rough was this whole division right here has 3 teams that has two teams that definitely have some of the
Fantasy
most
value.
fantasy impact, and two teams that realistically, if they take one step in the right direction, could be right up there with the other ones. Oakland gets their stuff together, or Denver gets their stuff together, and we're talking about 4 teams that could have top 5 receivers.
Each team has a top tier position on their team.
Absolutely. So definitely glad that we got through this. Next week or next episode, we are going to be getting into the NFC. I do want to say, make sure you guys check out this Discord. We are going to be in there. If you guys have any conversation points or any of these players that we went over today that maybe you have a different take on, or that you completely agree on and want to back us up to everyone in the world, let us know. It will be in the video description on YouTube as well as the episode description on our podcast. If you aren't watching this on YouTube and you're just tuning into our podcast, make sure to jump over there, give us a like, hit that subscribe button, give us a little love, and we'll make sure to give you guys back some great fantasy knowledge and help you win some money this year.
I love you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, it was a first. It definitely won't be the last, but it was a first, and it was interesting, different than what we've been used to. However, similar to the podcast, similar to what we've been putting out, it will get better. I guarantee it. Look at that face that John has. I guarantee it will. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We love you guys. Drop the comments, join the Discord.